All right, how are you guys doing tonight? How about a big hand for Fernan and Dean? Yeah, Dean just mentioned the Jersey Shore. I actually saw this interview with one of the producers of that show recently where they said that they pass out STD medication to the staff like M&Ms. And if you've seen any pictures of Snooki lately, it looks like she's also been eating M&Ms like M&Ms. But like Dean mentioned, I did work for The Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien, and then I got to be on Last Comic Standing. But even though I made it to the second round, they just showed me in the background for a couple of seconds. So basically, I got to be in NBC primetime almost as long as Jay Leno. But before I worked for Conan, I actually worked for the Maury Povich Show, where I had to take calls from people who wanted to be in the studio audience, and they weren't much better than the guests. Like, I got a call from this one woman, and she goes, "Hi, I'd like to come see Maury, but I live in Dallas. Is New York far from Dallas?" I was like, "Go to your window, I'm waving." And it's good to be back in New York City. I used to live down in Brooklyn, and I always liked living there, but the one thing about my apartment that annoyed me is there was this locksmith in my neighborhood, and literally every day he would leave a business card outside my door to advertise his locksmith service. I just always thought it would make a better ad if he left them inside on my pillow. And I live out in Los Angeles now, and I like it out there, but I'm still adjusting to how politically correct everyone is on the West Coast. Like out in LA, they have Thai Town and Koreatown and Filipino Town and Little Tokyo. In New York, we could all call all that stuff Chinatown. But I do see people from all over the world in this city. Like I was up at Central Park earlier, and I saw a tourist who looked like he was from Africa, admiring the giant fountain next to the lake. And I thought, how would you even explain a giant fountain to someone from Africa? Like here in America, we have so much clean, drinkable water that sometimes we just use the extra to decorate. And then what we do is we take our spare change. Which is the money we have left over after buying everything we could possibly buy. And we just throw it in the fountain. And make a wish for a better life. And if there's ducks in the fountain, we'll throw in the bread we have left after eating everything we could possibly eat. Speaking of eating too much, the other night I had dinner at Applebee's. I don't know how many of you guys have eaten at Applebee's lately, but they've basically gotten to the point where they're just naming their food after the type of diarrhea it causes. Like, yes, I will start with the sliders and the poppers. To drink, I'll have the mudslide. And for dessert, the chocolate meltdown. But we really do eat way too much in this country. America just keeps getting fatter and fatter. Like, I was at the swimming pool the other day, and I saw this woman who was so fat that her armpit had gone from an innie to an outie. Like, I didn't even know that could happen, but it just flopped out every time she lifted her cheeseburger. I don't even know what she was doing at the pool in the first place, because you can only go swimming 20 minutes after eating. And frankly, I don't think it had ever been that long. She clearly wasn't into exercising. And I'm guessing the only pull-ups she's ever done are to the second drive-thru window. Speaking of fat people, a lot of my friends have started getting married. One thing I can say is they're definitely not marrying trophy wives. Like, instead of trophies, these girls are more like, you know how sometimes you get a ribbon just for participating? They're like consolation prize wives. But I have been trying to meet people myself. I was out at a bar the other night and a cougar tried to pick me up. which isn't really my thing, but luckily I learned about cougar attacks in Boy Scouts. So I made a lot of noise and puffed my jacket up towards face. But before she left, she insisted on getting my number, and then she sent me a text message with one of those winking emoticons, which kind of concerned me because at her age, this could indicate a stroke or some sort of
palsy.
I'm a pretty religious person. I'm a practicing Lutheran, which is basically a non-practicing Catholic. But I do go to church regularly, and I think my favorite part of the church service is when the pastor forgives you and tells you all of your sins have been instantly erased. Because the only other way to get that feeling is to delete the history on your web browser. And even though I'm Christian, I do try to be tolerant of other religions. Like, I think it's really unfair when people assume that all Muslims are terrorists. Because terrorists spread terror, whereas Muslims just make me uncomfortable. The only religion I really can't stand is Scientology. Like, out in LA, I live near this place called the Scientology Test Center. I imagine every day they test it and go, yup, still bullshit. So people believe in all sorts of crazy things. Like, I always see these little stands advertising psychic readings. What I like to do when I walk past one of those psychic stands is I like to imagine Rosie O'Donnell naked. Then if I see the psychic shudder, I know it's legit. So are there a lot of Barack Obama fans here tonight?
Woo!
That reaction has changed a lot since I started doing this show. I did not vote for Obama, but I did order one of those Obama coins that they advertised on TV. Because as any collector will tell you, a coin is worth a lot more when there's an obvious mistake on it. But even though I disagree with Obama, I don't like to hear these like crazy and inappropriate comments that some people make. Like Senator Harry Reid once said the reason Obama got elected is because he doesn't speak in a Negro dialect. Which I just found offensive and sort of confusing. Because all of my black friends are very intelligent and articulate. Like, as far as I can tell, a Negro dialect is just plain old regular English. Spoken loudly during a movie. Dean was mentioning the issues with the illegal immigration earlier. I keep seeing on the news, they show all these protesters in Arizona waving signs against the immigration bill. Which I think is dumb, because the police are not going to be racially profiling people. They can only check your papers if they have reason to believe you're here illegally. Like, say, if you were on national television waving a sign that you don't want them to check your papers.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
But I know illegal immigration is a big issue right now, so I came up with an idea for a reality show that would help solve that problem. How it would work is each week we'd have an illegal immigrant and a child molester fight each other to the death. And we call it Alien versus Predator.